Hello and welcome to Interactive Music Theory Level 1. My name is Kelvin Cummings and this is Lesson 13 out of 14 sessions to do with music theory, what music looks like in its written form. We've already covered quite a lot of information within this course here. You'll notice that the work booklets are available in the description down below, as well as the extension puzzles to go with. All of the notes for this particular session here are included, plus any other additional websites that I think will be useful for you to be able to have some success. So, without further ado, let's get into this penultimate lesson. So, we're learning in this lesson here about intervals and the importance of them within music theory. We're going to identify intervals from the first through to the octave by number only. We're going to be able to learn the melodic and harmonic intervals. We've talked about intervals, but we're going to look at melodic versus harmonic and figure out what that actually means. We're going to learn the correct way to write stems and how to identify, correctly label all of those different stems there. We're going to revise the knowledge of our musical terms, and we're going to assess you on your knowledge of those ones there as well. The work for this is in your work booklets, as I mentioned. They're page 25 and 47 of the work booklet down below, so make sure that you're keeping up with that there. So in regards to this, the order that we're going to follow today is going to be revision of intervals, more intervals, game on intervals. So we're going to get really familiar with that. We're going to have a little bit of revision of our note values. We're going to have a look at the stems and the beams between notes to be able to make sure that we're writing all of those accurately. There's going to be a listening task there in regards to intervals. We're going to have a look at revising our tones and semitones. We're going to do an extension puzzle, and it's not assessment 2, it's actually assessment 4 that we're going to be working on today. So, without further ado, revision on the intervals. Let's have a look here. An interval is the distance between two notes. So, drag the names to the block. Well, we've got the names here. I'm not going to drag them this time around here. I'm actually going to write them in place. So, here's my pen ready to go. There on a bass clef, we've got a C note there, and remember that we had that website Staff Wars, so I'll make that available in the description below, is going to give us a low C. That is an A above there, so that is an example of a, whoops, I'm going to go back there, that is an example of, this time around here, I'll make that a sixth. Alright, so we've done that one, boom. Let's have a look at this next one here. So this is a middle C here on a treble clef, and we're looking at an F note to be able to fix that up. So C, D, E, F. That is an example of a fourth. Where is my fourth? Boom, done. Right, here we go. We've got a low G there, we've got a high F there. Now that's quite a stretch. That's almost a whole octave. It's almost a set of 8, but not quite. It's one less. So in this case here, we've got 7th. So G being 1. A, B, C, D, E, F. There goes our 7th notes there. Right, so there goes my 7th. Boom, done. Right, here goes on a treble clef here. I've got a G note and I'm going to an A, so that's the one right beside it. So if G's my number 1 note, A is right beside it. That would be an example of a second interval, which is boom, done there. I only got 4 to go. These ones here, those two F's, exactly the same notes. They are unison. Unison, or firsts, I guess, if you're lacking that term there. So this one here, we've got a G, and we're going up to a D note this time around here. So think G, A, B, C, D. We're going to the 5th note within that scale, or 5th note there. We've got 2 to go. One's going to be a 3rd, one's going to be a 5th. So here's my low G going up to a D there. I've already known that because I just did it here. That's just an octave down below from that one. And we've got, boom, this one here, that is an F note and is going up to an A. That's a perfect example of a 3rd. F, G, A. Okay, so we revised those intervals there. We're talking about the distance between 2 different notes. Okay, so more intervals. Now, what we've already done up to this point here is we've identified that we've got different intervals, or different spaces between them. But what we haven't discussed is the fact that we've got notes either being played at the exact same time or following each other. Now, if we've got notes that are following each other, so different pitch, or it could be the same, I guess, following each other there, that's what's known as a melody. So in this case here, where we've got a C note and an E note, that's what's known as a melodic interval. Notes for this here on page 25. Now, when we've got them happening at the same time, so they're happening above each other, that there is an example of a harmony or a harmonic interval. Okay, so melodic meaning one after another, harmonic meaning they're happening at the exact same time. Okay, so let's have a look at these ones here. We're going to name the intervals both by number and by the type. Okay, so in this case here, we've got it's in D major there, so we've got a D note, and that's going to a G note up here. So let's have a think about the steps. So D, E, F, G. So it's going to be a fourth. Is it melodic, one after another, or is it harmonic, where they're happening exactly at the same time? Well, the clue is having a look at where they are. Now that one there comes first. It's not sitting over the top, so it's not being played at the exact same time. In this case here, fourth, melodic, or a melodic fourth would work here as well. Okay, let's have a look at this one here. We've got the key of G major. I can see that from that F sharp there. We've got a G here. So I'm going to write that G, and that's going quite high up. In fact, that's going to that F sharp all the way up here. But notice this time here, numbers wise, G, A, B, C, D, and then E, F sharp, so that's the seventh. But you'll notice that this time here, they're right above each other, so they're being played at the exact same time. So this here is a harmonic seventh, or a seventh harmonic. Okay, right, let's have a look at this one here. We've got a treble clef, that is a C note there already. It's going to go straight up to a, whoops, jumping ahead of myself here, it's jumping up to an A. I've already given the clue away, so it's C, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A is that sixth note. And you'll notice that this time around here, it is right above each other. So in this case here, they are working in harmony with each other. So harmonic. Okay. Right, moving on. This one here, still on page 25. We are now working on an F major scale. That is our F being our first note there, which is kind of convenient. And our next one there is an A. I can tell there because it's sitting in that space there. So that one, A, F, G, A. So in this case here, third. Is it right above each other and working it as a harmony? Not this time. One note's happening, second note's happening. So this one here is a melodic third, or a third melodic. Okay. So the key terms here for you is it melodic, one after another, or is it harmony, that they are, or harmonic, where they are working at the exact same time? Okay. And then we've got the different gap in between there. So there's a lot of things to take in at this point here. But if you've done all the lessons up to this point, this should be a cakewalk. Or it may be that you just need to check some of the notes there earlier on. Most of these ones here are on page 25, however. So let's have a look at this. So what we're going to do here is we're going to give you an opportunity to write these out. Now, I've got my answers down here below. I'm going to give you just a few moments here to think about it. Within this here, the fifth above D is a melodic interval. So what we need to do in this case here is you need to make sure that your D note there, actually I'm going to write that a little bit neater, D, is in there first, and the fifth above it, so D, E, F, G, A, now it's a melodic, which means that it's going to be following up this particular case. In this one here, the fifth above D is a melodic interval, so here's my D note, there is my A, so that there works as a nice neat one there. Let's have a quick wee look at this next one. So, an octave above C is a harmonic interval, which means that both of these are going to be working simultaneously. So here goes my one here, there is my middle C, on that ledger line just beneath, okay? And we've gone over that in the past. Now, the full octave, so we've got D, E, F, G, A, B, C, we're looking for that C above. I'm going to make that a little bit neater. There we go. So they're working simultaneously. They're happening at the exact same time. There. Okay. Could be a little bit further over. In fact, I might just drag them over here. Come on. Yeah. Go. Like so. Okay. A third above F. So we've got F is our first note. Boom. And it's a harmonic, so it's going to be above. And it's going to be a third this time. So F, G, A. Okay. There we go. Happening at the same time. Right above each other. Fourth above G. So here's G here first. Make that a little bit neater. It does, I mean, it takes a little bit more time, but it's really important when it comes to reading it. So there's my G, and I'm looking for a fourth melodic interval over that. So G, A, B, C, like so. Okay, so on page 25, those there should be your correct answers to be able to get that information in place. Okay, so just make sure that you have got all of that in a nice clear format so that you're able to make sense of it. So there's the fifth above D, so that is a melodic fourth. We've got an octave harmonic or a harmonic octave. We've got a third harmonic or a harmonic third, and we've got a melodic fourth between these two here, or a fourth melodic. Okay, so using that information there, what we need to do is be able to circle the fourth, melodic fourth within this melody here. So kind of requires a little bit of thinking in this particular case, because you need to be thinking, well, what's the gap between each of these? So between these two, that G to that B is a third, so it's not going to be that. That B to that C, well, that would be a second, so that wouldn't be that. So a second coming back to those ones there, a second coming back to these ones here, there's a second coming back to these ones here, because they're right beside each other. That G to that A is a second, because they're right beside each other. That's a second going to that one there. That going to that, it's a third. So that B coming down to that A, coming down to the G. So dun dun dun. That G coming up to that C, G, A, B, C. Well, that is an example of a fourth there. We've got that C coming down to the B, that's in a second. We've got a B coming down to that A, that's a second. We've got an A coming down to that F sharp in this case, which is an example of a third, and that F sharp coming up to that G is an example of a second. So what we should find within our answers here is that it's those ones here that are an example of the fourth. Melodic fourth in this particular melody here on page 25. Okay, so we're looking at the distance between the two different notes. Let's move on. So more intervals, still here on page 25. Circle all of the melodic intervals of a third, a fourth, or a fifth within this melody. And supposedly there are 4 to find. So I'm going to give you a couple of moments there to have a look and see if you can find them. So if you are searching through them and testing yourself, press pause now and you'll be able to do it. Now in this case here, I am looking for, we've got seconds here, second between those two there, second between those two there. They're right beside each other. Those ones are in unison. They're beside each other there, or they're exactly the same. We've got a second here, we've got a third, boom. Here goes my first third, going from that A down to that F. So A to G to F. We've got that F going up to there, so that's just a second. We've got those beside each other, that's a second. We've got this one to this one. And in fact, I'm gonna change the color for this. I'm gonna show, so the fourth, I'm gonna show with blue. That C and that F, there is a gap of 4 between those ones there. We've got C to that D there is an example of a second, so that one's going to be too small for us in this particular case here. We've got that D down, oh, and that one's quite a large one there. I'm going to change colour on this one here. So if you work back, here's your C, here's your B, here's your A, here's your G. So G through to D, so, or vice versa. So G, A, B, C, D. There goes an example of a fifth this time round here. And what you'll notice here is that we've now been able to come back and find one more here that G to that C, G, A, B, C, that's an example of a fourth. So have we been able to find our four? Darn tootin' we have. We've been able to find this one here, the third, a fourth, but there was a fifth there, and there was a melodic fourth there as well. Right, so write these harmonic intervals above the note which are given. So harmonic means that we're going to have them right above. So in this case, what we're looking for is, and I might go red for this one here, so we're looking for a fourth above that D. So here we go, D, E, F, G. Okay, that's on the line there, harmonic fourth. Right, so the fifth above this one here on an F is F, G, A, B, C. So it'd be in that space just above here. I'm going to write that a little bit neater there as well. Okay, they should be right above each other. Mine probably could be a little bit nicer than that. We've got this third here. Now to get the third, we've got that B. Sorry, not the B. The D. It's even in the key signature of D there, which helps. So we've got D, E, F. Third note is an F. All right, sitting nice and top there. And what you'll find is with thirds, if they're both in spaces, they'll sit quite comfortably on top of each other. If they're fifths, they're sitting still in the spaces there, but they're sitting quite comfortably with each other there as well. That's partly why those thirds and those fifths here are used that way when we are starting to draw out harmonies and things. Now we've got the seventh. We've got a G, which is in this key of G here. We're looking for a seventh note. So working our way through, and I'm going to go back to the piano for this. Here's my G. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in this particular case here, it was that F sharp. So I'm going to drop that in there. Here's my F sharp. I know it's a sharp because it's got that symbol there at the top there. Alright, so there goes our correct answers there for choosing the harmonic intervals from the notes that have been given there. Okay, we've got a fourth harmonic, a fifth harmonic, a third harmonic, and a harmonic seventh there as well. Okay, more intervals. Let's see if we can drop these ones into place here. So a fifth above that C, C, D, E, F, G. There we go, that should be on the line there too. So within that there, boom, we've got the second there above this one here. Now these ones are a little bit trickier, because when you're drawing out harmonic seconds, it's not like we can really put them right above. So it's not like we can go bleh, like that. Because what you'll notice is that, it's almost indistinguishable. You can't really see the notes. So what we have to do this time around here is we still have to fill the space, but we put it right beside, like touching, physically touching, to be able to make that work. Okay, so when we're doing harmonic intervals, when it comes to seconds, they have to be physically touching there to be able to make that work. Here is an octave, starting off with a low C there. I'm wanting a harmonic interval here, so it's going to be a C just in that space above, which I'm going to write a little bit neater than that. Perfect. And here's another second here, that's on the G. I'm going to go, that's on the F. I'm going to go to the G, just above there, so that's sitting on the line. Okay, so harmonics, being that it happens at the exact same time, so it's right above each other, right below, unless it's one of those seconds where it's a little bit messy. Melodic, meaning that it happens straight after. So let's test our knowledge here, and we'll probably only go for maybe like 3 or 4 different times here. So in this game here, which I'll make available in the future there for more of you to be able to play, is based on us being able to identify the gaps between these ones here. And if you guess the gaps correctly, what happens is you get to go forward that many spaces. If you guess them wrong, you have to go back that amount of spaces. So here's my piece here. So bass clef, it's a low C, and it's finishing up on a low G there. So from C, D, E, F, G. In this particular case here, what we should be looking is 5. Okay, so that is moving up a fifth. So I got that correct. Yay me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, nice and simple. Let's see how far we can get in these 5 moves. So here we go. We've got a G here, and it's finishing up on an E. Now, if it's not 100% instinctive for you, we've got G, A, B, C, D, E. So this one here should be, in this particular case here, a 6th, melodic 6th. So we're going up forwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're already racing here now, which is good. And then we've got these ones here. So there's a G, and we've got a D here. So think about how many steps we're going. G, A, B, C, D. Should be a fifth this time around here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And not doing too bad. Alright, so let's go one more. Okay, for the sake of this one here, we've got a middle C, we've got to an E. We've got the one in the middle there, so that would be a second. But that one there is a third, so we've got a third this time around. And 1, 2, 3. Thankfully, in this particular case here, we're able to make it up to 19, but let's see how far you get to go in the future. Just choose yourself kind of some random sort of notes there and be able to count the distance in between. Time for us to revise some of these note values that we've done in the past. Now, we've already come across all of these notes and their equivalent rests. So what we're going to do here is we're going to be able to drop them all into the right place. So, a crotchet. Out of each of these, a crotchet is a note which goes for 1 beat. Out of these ones here, it is the one with the coloured in stem, and the coloured in dot and the stem there. Its rest opposite is that one there with the laser force looking thing. The dotted crotchet. Now all we're effectively doing this time around here is we're just finding it's the exact same thing there, but we're adding a dot to it. And a reminder that by adding the dot to it, that's adding half of its length there again, so that means that what was worth 1 is now worth 1.5. So where is that down here? Well, we've got that one there is done, that one there is done. So let's move on. We've got a minim this time. Now minims are worth 2 beats. They look similar to that, except this time around they are hollow. So I'm going to connect that a little bit nicer than that. So we've got that one there, and its opposite is something which sits on the middle line within these stages of music. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It sits on this point here, up like so. And I'll colour that in. Should be a nice boxy sort of symbol there. Boom, done there, and minim is done there as well. Dot and minim, exactly the same principle as what we did with these ones here. It is whatever the value was plus half of it again. So here's my dot. After that minim, here is my dot. After that minim rest, which gives me only one more for each of those. The semi-brief, which is looking like that, looking more like this, perfect. And the semi-brief is the one which hangs down from the 4th line from the top there. So boom and boom. So that's a revision of what the notes happen to look like in regards to their lengths or the duration. Let's think about some other stuff that's really important. Here on page 47 of your work booklets, you'll notice that in the single line music, notes are placed below the 3rd line, have the stave of them pointing up, and it happens to go on the right hand side of that note. If they happen to be kind of at that midway point onwards, so in a treble clef it'll be where that B note is, and it's from that middle note and going higher, then the stem should be down on the left hand side. I've tried to reinforce that all the way through subliminally. Hopefully you've been able to pick up on that. However, this is the official lesson on being able to notice all of that. So notice that if they're below that midline there, the stems are going up on the right hand side. And when we've got these ones here which are on the middle line or higher, the stems go down on the left hand side, and then this one here has come back below that point there, stem goes back up on the right hand side there. All of the notes for this on page 47. So using that, we need to circle the notes in this which are incorrectly drawn. So and based on the definition that we had there, so we're looking for the notes here based on that middle space there. If it's on the middle and higher, the stem should be going down on the left. If they're below that line, the stem should be going up on the right hand side. So does that work? Yes. Does this work? Yeah, it's on that line, so it should be going down. Both of these are on the middle line or above, so both of those should work there. Because they're both connected, we'd have to choose regardless. We can't actually split them up. That one there, it's below that line. That one there should be a stem going up because it's below that middle line. That one's correct, that one's correct. This one here, however, because it's above that middle line, should have the stem going down on the left hand side. This one here is correct, it's on the middle line there, its stem's going down. We've got this one here below that and stem's going up, that's perfect, same with that. This one here, too low, stem should be going upwards on that right hand side, and then we've got that one there. How many were we looking for? It didn't say. What I was able to find was those three. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 are incorrectly drawn here on page 47, so hopefully you were able to identify those same ones. Let's move on. So we're going to drop a stem into each of these notes here. So because that's above the line, stem goes down on the left hand side. Make sure that you do connect it. Because this one here is below that line, the stem is going to go up on that one there. That one's below the middle line, stem goes up. That one's on the middle line, which means the stem should be going down this time around here. That one's on the high end, so that's stem going down on the left hand side. Stem goes up on the right hand side here because that one there is below that midway point. We've got stem going down below there. We've got stem going up on that one. That one's too low. Whoop. Fix that one up there. Goodness. Yeah. There we go. And that one's there is above that middle line there, so that one should have the stem going down below there as well. Now what we should have is stems that should be around about that sort of length there. So when you are popping in your correct notes, try to keep the stems at approximately the same sort of length. I haven't given you a good example on a couple of these, that's quite short, it should be a bit longer. So this one here, all of the stems are the correct lengths, they are going the correct way up or down based on where that physical dot happens to be. You just need to make sure that if it's on that middle line or up, that the stem's going down on the left hand side, and vice versa. If it's on the lower end there, it's going up on the right hand side. So, still here on page 47, beams should always slant in the direction that they're going to. You could potentially have them flat, that's fine, there's no rule saying that you can't, but if you've got notes, for example, going up, so there's a G and there's that B, the slant should actually be traveling up the same way there as well, okay? So this example here, that's incorrect, whereas this one here would be correct. So I'm going to go big green tick for that one, and no, we don't want that one there. Alright, so when drawing quavers and semiquavers beamed together, and they happen to be on different pitched notes, which occur over the third line, so this is where this kind of gets a little bit tricky, so do pay attention to this. The direction is determined by the note which is the furthest from that third line. Okay, so third line being that middle line. So, in this particular case here, we have that one there is the furthest away from that middle line, which means that we're referring to notes that are happening to be on that bottom half of that one there. So this case here, what we would be expecting to see is notes looking more like this. Okay, so that's where you decide whether you're going to be having the beam on the top or the bottom. Notice that all of them, regardless of whether they're middle or lower or wherever it happens to be, that they're all beamed on the same side. So that's where we need to figure out where the furthest note happens to be. And that, in this case here, it's the first note, but it could be the second note, it could be the third note. Okay. So let's have a quick look at this. We're going to rewrite this one here correctly. Here on page 47. The correct answer for this here, so pause it within your video there, have a quick go at it. Once you're ready, confirm it against that. Okay, so where are the changes? Well, we've got one change here. Okay, so by being able to have that pointing up in the right direction there, we've got that change there looking good. We've got a change here. That one there, the stems are going up the right hand way here because those ones there, the stems should have been up anyway. They're lower dotted notes. We've got a change here in the sense that the stem is going up the right way and is on the right side. We've got these ones here because from that middle line, that's going up 2 notes there, whereas 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going down a full, a fifth in this particular case here, from that B down to that E. So that's why it's been chosen to be going and using the lower notes there as its bass there. And then we've got that one there to be able to finish it off. Oh, plus. Can't finish out with a double bar line there. So we've got the stem, because it's a higher note there, stem going down there on the lowest minim. Also on that minim there because it's on the high side. Okay? Right. Time for a little bit of listening. Now this one here, we've got 4 different tasks here. I'm wanting you to listen in for these melodic intervals. And we're listening to, it's going to give you your first note and then it's going to give you the second note. We're going to be trying to see if we can find out which of these is going to work. So here's an example of a melodic second. Okay, so you can hear that note is basically stepping up to the next one. We've got a harmonic, a melodic third. So it's a little bit more of a gap. It's just basically missing the second in that there to be able to create a nice harmonic, well, a harmony type melody there, but it's, you know, melodic, meaning that it's happening afterwards, obviously. And then we've got the octave, which is going to be the full jump of those notes there. So let's have a listen to this. Which of these is a melodic second? Is it A? Okay, is it B? Or is it C? So in these ones here, we're looking for notes that's going to be, because it's a melodic second, we're looking for the one that is just stepping up to that next point. So one of those is a melodic second. Which one do you think it is? For number 1, is it A? Is it B? Or is it C? In this particular case here, better make sure you've got your answer down there on your piece of paper or your whiteboard at home. And we have A. And then we could carry on all the way through. Right, for number 2, we're looking for the melodic third this time around. So it's not going to be the one right beside, it's going to be the one just after it. So let's have a listen. Is the melodic third A? Is it B? Or is it C? I've got my hunch as to what it might be. Let's see if you can get it as well. Here's one more playing. Melodic third A. B. Or C. Now if you chose C, you'd be 100% correct. We've got so we've got a melodic third there that's going on to that one. Right, for the third one here, we're looking for a melodic octave. So we're looking for one which has got a really high jump there. So it's moving from the first tonic, that number 1 note, all the way through to the 8th note there. So is it A? Is it B? Is it C? Now one of those is correct. Which one do you think it might be? Let's have a wee listen. Is it A? Is it B? Or is it C? You would have had your answer written down here. The correct answer this time around is B. Okay, good listening. Right, last one. Number 4, we're looking for a harmonic second, so this is the one where it's basically sounding like it's stepping up to the next note. B and C. Okay, one of those is correct. Which one is it? I've got my hunch. Here's A again. Here is B. And here is C. The correct answer, B. Okay, so we've got those two working together. Rightio, next up we have a bit of a revision on our semitones and our tones. Now a quick reminder of exactly what those were, because it's been a while since we've talked about them, is semitones are notes right beside each other. So that D to that D sharp to that E, and that E to that F, because there's nothing else in between, okay? And we've got examples of that all over the place. So semitones are the ones which have got the smallest distance possible to choose. Now, tones are ones where you go this distance of 2 semitones. So like that F to that G, because we missed that F sharp, or that A sharp to C, because we missed that B note there. So that's what we're looking for here. Now this first one, let's have a quick look at this. Is it going to be a semitone or is it going to be a tone? That is a B going up to a C sharp. Let's have a quick look. B, C sharp, going 2 semitones in distance. That is going to be an example of a tone. Boom, up here, ready to go. Right, let's have a look at this next one. B to a C this time around. Well, we know B to a C sharp is a tone. So B to a C, they are right beside each other. That is an example of a semitone. Okay, so got the hint now. Now let's have a look at this next one here. We've got an A going to a B. Now they sound like they're going right beside each other, but in this case here, A has a sharp or a B flat in between before it gets to that B. So that's going 2 steps. That there is an example of a tone. Right, moving on. Here goes the next one. That is a G to a G sharp. That G sharp is the black key right after G, so that there is going in my semitone side right here. Okay, moving on. We've got this one here. This is a G going up to an A. Here's my G. Here is my A. You'll notice that there is a note in between, so that's going 2 spaces. That is an example of a tone. Right, almost there. We've got this treble clef here, we've got an E note and we've got an F note this time around. So that E going to that F, no key in between, there is no black key separating the two. They are right beside each other, the smallest distance possible, they slot up here. So knowing that, we've only got 2 more to go. These are in bass clef form, these ones. In fact, I'm just going to drag that one down here for the sake of this. So these ones here, we have, that's a low E going to a low F, so that's a... Now those ones there are right beside each other, so those go in here as well. And I've got one more set here. This is an F going to a G. Here is a low F going to a G. Got that F sharp in between, meaning that this goes on the side here. Alright, so we've been able to separate each of these quite comfortably now into semitones, which is the smallest distance possible, and tones. Okay, so that's your revision on that. Make sure you don't forget about all of those, because that's really important when it comes into being able to work out your scales and the distances of different things there. Because remember, with major scales, we've got tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Alright, at the bottom of the description down below, there is a link for the extension puzzles. If you haven't already got yourself a copy of that, make sure that you have. Find out, in this particular case here, a whole pile of different composers that are included within this here. Okay, so not too challenging, it's just a matter of you being able to kind of spot all of these different letters here, and because a lot of them are more classical based artists there, you'll have some really, really cool combinations of letters which don't tend to be joined up together, so the O, E and N, that doesn't tend to happen quite a lot.
But wait, there's more.
Just like with other sessions, it's really important for you to test your knowledge. So what I've done at the end of this lesson here, in the description down below, is I've popped in an assessment for you to complete. This is assessment 4 out of all of the different assessments. So make sure that you are testing yourself on your knowledge up to this point here. So that's lessons 1 through to 13. All of the information should be covered within these particular assessments. Try to do it without looking at your notes. I know that it can be kind of daunting when you are doing stuff from memory, but if you're taking those risks, you're more likely to be able to memorize that information in the future. Thank you very much again for joining Interactive Music Theory Level 1. See you later.